When you consider Joe Biden's agenda and his embrace of the radical left, it's clear. Joe Biden would be nothing more than an auto-pen president, a Trojan horse for a radical agenda, so radical, so all-encompassing that it would transform this country into something utterly unrecognizable. It's no wonder that socialist Bernie Sanders said that if Joe Biden was elected, he would, in his words, transform the country and be, and I quote, the most progressive president in nearly a century. The Biden-Sanders agenda would set America on the path of socialism and decline. And as our nation endures this time of testing, we do well to tell our neighbors and friends that it's also a time for choosing. We need to tell our fellow Americans that we can choose to stay on a path that starts from the belief in the goodness of the American people, that starts from the premise that America is exceptional, is founded on freedom, and always striving for a more perfect union. Just last week, President Trump spoke at a roundtable with a Cuban immigrant by the name of Maximo Alvarez. Maximo escaped communist Cuba when he was 13. He was one of the last kids to flee with a group of nuns whose convent had been taken over by the communist dictator that Bernie Sanders praised in the past. Maximo had a stark warning for our country at that forum. He said, and I quote, "What's happening in our backyard today, I experienced as an 11-year-old. Maximo went on to say, "I remember vividly all the promises that Castro gave. I remember the promises that we hear today about free education, free health care, free land." And then he recalled what his father told him about the glory of being an American. Maximo said that his father told him, "Don't lose that place. Because if you lose that place, you'll have no place to go." America is a beacon of hope and freedom for all the world. Maximo's admonition reminds us of the words of another Republican president, who famously reminded us that freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same. Or President Reagan added, "One day we'll spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it was once like to live in the United States when men were free." We have to fight for our freedom again. President Ronald Reagan was right in his time. And I promise you, that fighter in the White House will never stop fighting for freedom. President Donald Trump will continue to fight for the freedom of every American. And so we must fight with him. So my fellow Americans, that's the choice we face. We have two paths before us. One of freedom and opportunity, the other of socialism and decline. We can either be true to ourselves and what's made this nation a beacon of hope for all the world, or we can become like the very places that many of our ancestors fled, and that many still flee to come here. In pondering the decision that lies before us, I can't help but think of the words of the great American poet Robert Frost. my wife's favorite poet. He wrote, and I quote, "Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference." The truth is, through the long and storied history of this country, Americans have always chosen the road less traveled by, the road of freedom, individual responsibility. And I know we will do so again. I know this because, like our president and those who founded the Republican Party so many years ago here in Ripon, I believe in freedom. And I know this is a freedom-loving nation. I know the love of freedom beats in the heart of every American. And I know we will choose well again in this November because I have faith. Faith that every time the American people have given the choice between more freedom and less freedom, they stand for freedom. They fight for freedom. And they choose freedom every single time. Oh, this is a freedom-loving nation. It's also a nation of faith. And it's on that hope I stand as well. The Bible says where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's freedom. And so millions of Americans believe, as I do, that when we stand up for the God-given freedoms of life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness, the freedoms won and defended throughout our nation's history, we make His work on this earth our own. And that means freedom always wins. So that's the choice we face, my fellow Americans, between freedom and opportunity or socialism and decline. And I have no doubt, as all of us do all that we can, even in these challenging times, between now and November 3rd, we'll see our way through. We'll be there for our neighbors and friends. We will heal our land, and then we will win a great victory for freedom and our very way of life. And with President Donald Trump in the White House for 4 more years, we'll make America great again. Again.